Hello everyone, welcome back to Atreyu Crochet. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing how to count crochet rows. Many of you may already know how to do this, but there probably are some beginners who don't. Let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing to note is that there are different stitches in crochet, but that doesn't really affect how to count crochet rows. The main thing is knowing what to look for when counting rows, okay? So when you're counting rows like this versus rounds, okay, when you hear rounds, that makes you think of something circular, and that's correct. But with like square patterns, like scarves or some afghans or pot holders, things like that, a lot of times you're utilizing rows. And in some patterns that don't go just from bottom to top, they will also say rows, but I'm going to show you how to count rows when you're just doing the most basic of the basic. Alright, so if you look here, this is the tail, so you can see that I chained and then so many stitches from the crochet hook. I put that first double crochet and then I put a double crochet in each of the remaining chains. Okay, remember that right there, those are the chains that I crocheted into. Alright, and then on the end here, which is probably kind of hard to see because I've already crocheted into it, but that's a series of chains there as well. So I chained up, turned my work, so this is the series of chains, and then I crocheted the double crochets for that row. So one easy way to identify a row is just to look at the edges and to also see where the series of chains are. Now the number of chains that you chain at the beginning of a row will be determined by what type of stitch you're doing. For instance, a lot of people chain 2 for double crochets, some people chain 3. A lot of people chain 3 for treble crochets, although some people chain 4. People chain 1 when you're making a row of single crochets. Okay, so the number of chains will be determined by what type of stitch you're making in the row. But what you need to know is that, okay, when you chain and you see the stitches, that's a row. So in this case, right here, that was a chain 2, and then those are the stitches that came after. And then I chained up, and so that begins the second row. So this is row 1, this is row 2. As soon as I chain, that becomes the next row. So I chained, and then that's row 2. All that's row 2. Then here I chained up, so that started row 3, and then I continued on. Then here, and this is a good one because I haven't crocheted into it, you see the series of chains there. I chained up, so that's row 4, and then I continue to crochet. Okay, so just to reiterate, an easy way to count the rows is one, to just look at the stitches. You can kind of see, and right here you're looking at the back of stitches, and right there you're looking at the front of the stitches, right? So just noticing a difference between how these look, between how those look, that's an easy way to say, okay, that's a different row. Right here in this row 1, because I have it turned over, I'm looking at the back of the stitches. As opposed to here, I'm looking at the front of the stitches, so that's a different row. As opposed to here, I'm looking at the back of the stitches. These stitches look like these, so that's row 3. As opposed to here, I'm looking at the front of the stitches again, which happen to look like the stitches here, so that's row 4. Okay, so row 1, 2, 3, 4, and then also you can look at the chains on the end. Okay, that will also let you know that it's the beginning of a new row, okay, because you have to chain up to get to the height of that row. Okay, now when you get to rounds, then it's going to be different. Rounds are basically like circular rows, but they can get complicated in certain patterns because you don't chain up, right? You'll just continue crocheting around and around and around. And for those types of things, we often will use stitch markers to hold our place so that we know, where the next row is beginning. You usually use those types of patterns when you want to create seamless things like seamless hats, because clearly whenever you have the chains there, that kind of stands out a little, and it will create somewhat of a seam, especially if it's all in one line. But yeah, this is basically all that you need to know for a square rectangular shaped crochet project. Okay, just look for the chains and look at the stitches. If you're new to this, it may not be clear that this is the back of the stitches here, and you're looking at the front of the stitches there. But the more you crochet, the more your eyes will be able to easily identify what you're looking at. So just continue practicing and you will get there. Okay. Alright, well, that is it for this video. Hopefully you now know how to count crochet rows, and I think I will do a video in the future about how to count rounds. As I said, rounds are kind of like circular rows, okay? They're very similar, except you're going around in a circle. And oftentimes in my videos, you will hear me accidentally say round when I meant row. It's just, I'm so used to saying rows that even if I'm crocheting something circular, I'll still say row. So, yeah. Alright, that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it, and if you did like it, don't forget to like it. I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, happy crocheting.